I'm Richard Graninger, and I've been a filmmaker for over 37 years, and I've traveled the world meeting fabulous people. Well, this past year, I was privileged to work on a film which I co-produced with Bill Gladstone and Gail Newhouse, a film called Tapping the Source. In that journey, we interviewed 122 of the most brilliant luminaries in the world. I took 23 of these people and I put them in a film I called A Maze. It's a maze of life, how to get through it a little more gracefully, a little more calmly, a little more with some hope that you're going to maybe make something of yourself bigger than you ever thought you could. The Maze. I hope you enjoy it. I've carried this camera all over the world in my left hand, interviewing people, interviewing myself, sharing ideas and philosophies. But one thing I did notice in my journey, that there's a lot of people in the world. When I was in China in 1988, 1.3 billion people with gray suits all heading for one direction, the US of A. It's crazy. And they're here. So a lot of things have changed. And you saw the opening of this film, a lot of things are changing. And one of the things that's really got me interested is answering the question, why are we here? What's our purpose here? As things change, where do I fit in? And here's the answer I got from a very smart guy who I really admire.
Creativity is our reason to be here. There's something called creation, and there's something called creativity. They're not the same thing. Everybody is in an act of creation. You have a certain prevailing way of thinking. Eventually, an act of creation comes from that. Your blood pressure, whether you blush, your heart rate, your immune system, your actions, you'll end up creating something from that way of thinking. But creativity is different. Creativity is when you're touching the realm of the divine. And what begins to come through you is a radically unique way that the divine is shaping itself through you. From an evolutionary context, there's survival, then there's usefulness, then there's beauty, then there's creativity, and the unfoldment of the soul. So we have to learn how to survive. You come to planet Earth, you discover what's hot, what's cold, what's poison. You have to learn with this body what you need to do or not to do in order to survive. And then you get to usefulness. You have clothes. Clothes are useful, protects you against the elements. But at a certain point, beauty emerges. You wear clothes for their usefulness, but it's also becomes a signature of beauty and radiance, and that's the beginning of creativity. Now, the creative urge within us is to discover a way by which, as an individual that's undivided from the whole, we get to reveal all of these sacred qualities of the divine. And a real evolved society is about creativity and the unfoldment of one's soul. Now, as it's evolving, you have survival, usefulness, business. But what happens is when it gets stuck in a mere business acquisition model, then that particular society is unevolved. But when business evolves to support the arts and to support creative urges of individuals, healing, medicine, art, music, all of these particular things, now we're living in an evolved society. So creativity is why we're here. We're another face of the infinite that gets to sing its song through us and reveal its glory through us. So to walk through life merely to survive is to have a living death. And we're here to be creative. That's the whole meaning of the whole gang.
The Balboa Island Ferry. How cool is this? This is a ferry that started in 1909. when people came down here to buy real estate. And it goes from the peninsula to Balboa Island, where I live, coincidentally. And we met Dean Graciosi there at his summer home. We talked about how he got started, what drove him to his great success. Pretty amazing. And it started with his mother in a trailer park.
As a kid, I lived in a trailer park. I didn't have any money. A lot of entrepreneurs have the rags to riches stories, and I have that one. I didn't go past high school. I was in special reading till 11th grade. I still have read less than 5 books in my entire life. And I've written 2 New York Times bestsellers, and I've read the best-selling real estate book in America right now. But what I realized is when I was young, I was running away from pain. I didn't like living in trailer parks. I didn't like not having money. I didn't like watching my mom suffer, work 2 jobs to make $90 a week. I hated it. And all I did was kind of run away from the pain. But as I was running away from the pain, I found a source of energy that was never ending. And I got addicted to the accomplishment. Now, I had a great deal of success. I owned my own collision shop, then my own auto sales, and then I started going into buying rundown real estate. And then once I started making money with real estate, I realized there was a lot of people with pain out there. And I said, hey, I'm a dumb kid from upstate New York with not a great education, but with a lot of drive, and I figured out these techniques, let me share them. And we had a company that was doing pretty well, and I think we did $5 million a year and $10 million a year, and we were moving along, and I was sharing my recipes for success through books, through videotapes, through audios, while I was still being a real estate investor. But here's the thing when you talk about tapping the source or realizing how you could take life to a whole nother level, because no matter where you are, you always know there's another level, but sometimes people don't feel they can achieve it. And from where I came from, where I was running a company doing $1 million a month, I thought that what could be better? How could I take this any further? And when I decided that my whole mission in life was to be in the people business, to affect people in a positive way, to go deeper on what allowed me to get over my obstacles, what allowed me to embrace change and not be scared of it. When so many people are paralyzed by change, why did I embrace it and want to run around it? Why did I not let obstacles get in my way? When there was a brick wall, I didn't go, wow, that's a brick wall, I can't get past it. Where did it come from that I could punch through it or go around it or dig under it and inspire others to come with me? You gotta understand, I grew up in upstate New York, a young Italian kid, blue collar. If we talked about personal development and manifestation and focusing on a big future, if I talked about that stuff as a kid, I probably would have got my butt whooped, okay? And I have to tell you, it took years for it to finally sink in that there's a source inside of us that allows us to do whatever we want. There are no limits to what we want to do. For me to come from that lifestyle, that childhood, and be able to generate a company that's in excess of $100 million. And I'm not just valuing it on money. That means we're affecting a massive wave of people. But what I realized too is it started with me wanting to change people's lives and building a company. Don't get me wrong, I want a successful company. But it started there. But then there's a certain point in your life, like that computer with that program you didn't know was there, that you tap inside yourself and everything becomes harmonious. Your 8-cylinder car runs on 8 cylinders. You don't have to hit the gas so hard to be happy. You don't have to hit the gas so hard to find success, financial success, love success, and be able to share it with other people. And that's what's so amazing about, you know, what you share and what's in tapping the source. It's giving people that gateway, that how to navigate to find that source inside of them and be able to turn it on right now, not have to go so many years and figure it out on your own. And the truth of the matter is, I was lucky. I look back at my life, I'd love to say I'm the smartest guy in the world. I'm not. I'd love to say that I'm brilliant in the way I thought. I got lucky. But other people don't have to be lucky if they're taught a path and a plan.
How does a small town girl from Nebraska come to a big city and become known as the millionaire maker? Amazing story, amazing girl with a divine mission.
I mean, if you would have ever known that I was a little farm girl from Nebraska, that you still have to drive on a dirt road to get to where I was born. I mean, are you kidding me? I had no conversation about money. I never was on an airplane. I didn't even see any ethnic people outside of, right, this German Protestant community that I grew up in. I didn't know there was any such thing as diversity. I have this divine purpose of helping people make money. My companies Live Out Loud. We're in conversations about money all the time, and I help people make money. So the first one really is my source and connection to God. And then my funny, nothing makes you happier than going to the bank and putting in money. It's like the happiest day. Cash in the bank. Love of money is the root of all evil, and the addiction to money, right? But money, sex, and God are the greatest conversations. Most people don't know how to have them. And out of all of those, I picked money. And I've been having money conversations for 15 years. And truly people, teaching people how to make money. People talk about it, they adore it. They say they want to make a lot of money, but the truth is most people have fantasy island numbers and they don't know how to get tactical. Most people cannot consistently make $100,000. I mean, heck, most of them can't make $50,000 consistently. We're all here with a purpose. We're all here to do something. And true happiness is tapping that and not living these rules and these boundaries. The industrial age model has got to it's exhausted. It's got to have its extinction. Right now it's got to have its extinction. Entrepreneurialism needs to come alive, which gives everyone the ability to do what they want when they want. Now what's interesting about that is that win-win is not equal. And I think that a lot of people don't want to play the game unless they know all the rules and they think everyone's going to be equal. It isn't about that. It's about what's your piece of the pie, what's your piece, right, divinely of the entire pie, which again, I think it's way beyond that. I think it's vibrational, I think it's energetic, and the cash is just the physical exchange that occurs because of the way you play. So my whole message, right, and I think happiness for a lot of people, right, and again, I don't think that it's the most important thing, money, but I do think it has most impact on people's lives. Look at the last, 24 months. It's been enormous. It makes the Great Depression look like a kindergarten game as we're going through, right? That was just a stock market crash. We're in a credit market, right? We're in credit market, we're a real estate market, we have stock market, we have commodity market, we have unemployment, we have high, healthcare costs, we have outrageous high education costs. I mean, it's quite a game out there. Now the truth is, it's the greatest game that we could ever play because it's the lowest market, it's a garage sale, and everybody can make money. And talk about happiness. Can you imagine the millionaires that could be made if they get off their rear and get to that playing field and get serious about making some money? And that's happening.
Big business. Wow, everywhere in the world you go, it's big business, And it starts from entrepreneurs, small people that have an idea and kind of make it grow and grow and grow and grow. And the king of the growers is Bernie Dorman of CEO Space. And man, you talk about going back in time to 1990, he really has set the pace for learning how to become a businessman and an entrepreneur. I met him then, been doing shows for him now and then, and I have to say that he was always my mentor. He always pushed the envelope. And he pushes it right now with a new way of thinking about business, how we can get along a little differently in the world, in our business world, being nice to each other through not being so competitive. Listen up.
For 5,000 years, we've been in competitive capitalism, and we use fear and punishment and all human diversity. We have different religions, different races, different faces, even from Rome to Greece to now. We punish diversity between us in everything competitive, and we worship money. If you have money, whether you're moral or integritist, we give you deference because you have money. And we bow, we stop talking. I won't talk to you, I'll talk to the guy that has more money because Warren Buffett walked in. Is he a good man or not won't matter. Warren is, but that's the issue. Then we have, in the Industrial Revolution, the compression of competitive capitalism exploited people. And 1% of the population had the wealth that 99% combined didn't have. And so it was so disproportionate, they invented communism and socialism to correct the problems of competitive capitalism because it wasn't working. It didn't create full partnership for the world. And so then they created competitive bureaucracy without knowing it. And power was what they worshiped. Where are they in the competitive bureaucracy? And competitive bureaucracy was worse fear and punishment, worse exploitation, and you couldn't get toilet paper to the wealthy. Couldn't even get them to the wealthy. Because as a system of organizing people, a family, a community, a state, a nation, a region, a company, organizing humans along competition lines is toxic for our health. It is, if you want to tap the source is not schizophrenic. The source is not arguing with itself. The source is a love sublime. And the source, let's imagine that there are angels and that there's legions. You can't see the end of them. They're so massive. And you're looking at an assignment to make the next David's Psalm. So we could sing that for the Lord as the golden doors open. Do the angels make that psalm in the time allotted? In brutal, tribal, warlike, unbelievably cruel, personally mean, and even the unborn generation are coming up with this step on the ladder before the best friend steps on your face competition. That's how they create the psalm for the Lord? Or do they do it in unconditional cooperation and love and praise and celebration? All the differences are celebrated instead of punished. That's where we get into cooperation. But at the top of that pyramid, we worship integrity. And money and power are held in check at the bottom of the system as humble servants. And the only way you can get there is organizing humanity in cooperation. And I believe the final revolution for humanity, the bloodless revolution, is in the mind, and it's the transformation element, the missing mechanism of cooperation capitalism. Cooperative capitalism is totally reportable, totally accountable, totally transparent, and has no secrets.
There's an old saying in Hollywood that good directors really have a vision of where they want to go with their film. They can feel it, they see it, it's part of who they are. And they can direct people to where they want to go to get it. Well, creating a business is the same process. You have an idea, you want to put it down on paper, you want to bring it out to the world, and by gosh, you take people to where you want to go. Dave Liniger, the fellow you're going to see next, had that vision some 35 years ago. He created something very, very special. He was the first guy that ever started Remax USA. Big. It's pretty crazy big. Wow.
You know, I think the definition of happiness is attempting to achieve something. And that sounds strange, but the accomplishment of a goal does not necessarily give you the happiness. For instance, we started Remax with one agent 37 years ago. When I look back on my career, the challenge, the struggles, the day-to-day accomplishments end up with us having this fabulous company, but that isn't where the satisfaction was. The satisfaction was in growing it and building it and trying to strive and achieve something. Because if you depend on happiness to be the completion of something and it doesn't work, you failed and you're not happy. But if you've got all these relationships and friends and activities and things you've done over the years, it's the attempting to achieve a goal that sets up your happiness level. Okay. Well, for any entrepreneur that has a dream and wants to go forward with it, 2 suggestions. Number 1, have a passion for what you do. Absolutely fall in love with it to where you don't go to work. You would pay to go to work because this is what you believe in so much and you get so much enjoyment out of it that it is your life's work and it's your dream and you will not fail because you're in love with what you do. The second thing is never quit. Absolutely never quit. Because if you never quit, you will become successful.
The Ferrari store on PCH in Newport Beach. Wow. Every time I drive by here, which is often, I want to stop and buy one. I want to stop, get in one, drive it away. But why does money drive us so hard? It's driven me all my life. And you know, when you try to talk to people about their money, they don't talk about it much. They don't tell you how much they have, where they got it, what they're going to do with it. They just don't talk about it. Well, I found a guy along the road, produced some shows for him, kind of a controversial fellow, but brilliantly smart. He told me about his money, where it came from, and how he got it, and what he hopes to do with it. And more importantly, what he can buy with it.
I can buy almost anything I want, not absolutely everything, because that would be a curse actually. There's a Buddhist curse that says, may all of your greatest desires be instantaneously fulfilled. And part of the enjoyment of creating wealth and living a life on purpose is the ability to savor the wanting as much as the having. So while I can buy most of what I want, I can't buy everything I want yet, and I'm actually grateful that I cannot. And I guarantee you though, the moment I could buy everything I want, what I want would expand too. I was born extremely poor. And we were raised on a farm in Michigan with no running water, no electricity, no phone. I've got 9 siblings, twice we were homeless. And I grew up thinking that that was life. And as I left the country and moved to Southern California in the early years because we were broke, we had to move, I realized there was a whole other world out there that you don't see in a rural part of this country. There were people that were driving really nice cars. There were people that were living really great lifestyles. There were people that didn't have to look at the prices on the menu before they decided what they were hungry for. And so these days, we're shooting right now at my mansion on the beach in Southern California. My main residence is a 17,000 square foot palace in Las Vegas. We fly all over the world solely on private jets and drive what we want to drive, where we want to go, and it's a blessed life. And this is what I want people to grasp. I'm not special. I mean, I was in special classes as a kid. They thought I was mentally retarded. These days, they would have labeled me ADD, or more than likely ADDDDDDDD. What it was that my mind saw through the matrix very quickly. And what I wanted to do was get things done. You know, in my young years, I was in counseling, and I realized early on that the way to get out of counseling was to give the counselor what the counselor was asking for, not what I thought was an appropriate behavior. And so when I realized that we have to not conform to the systems, we have to play the systems though, everything gets a ton easier. I'm grateful for wealth. And again, that's part of the strategies of creating wealth, is to always be grateful. I happen to like cars a lot. I collect cars and houses. And I drive a Rolls Royce, and if you've never driven a $350,000 automobile, I'll tell you that most people would say they don't need a $350,000 automobile to get from point A to point B. And all I can say to those people is, then you've never driven a $350,000 automobile. Because the moment you do, you gotta have it. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, a mind once expanded cannot contract to its original state. Which I agree, once you have a new truth, you can't go back. I also believe, though, that a wallet once expanded cannot contract to its original state. Once you start living a bigger lifestyle, once you start having the home of your dreams, or the cars of your dreams, or the life of your dreams, you won't go back. So these days, we drive a Rolls Royce. We just got the brand new Tesla, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, and again, whatever my wife wants, she gets, because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody gonna be happy. So she drives an SL 500, and she's got a couple of other fun vehicles. You know, for me, tapping the source means not needing anything and having an ability to savor the wanting as much as the having. It's a great life, no doubt about that, except this isn't what makes the life great. What makes the life great is my ability to recognize all of this is temporary. And that ultimately, the more you enjoy what you've got, the more you'll enjoy what you get. I mean, you must appreciate where you are now, because where you're at later will be where you're at now then. And the bottom line for all of us is an understanding that we can make this either heaven or hell. This can either be awesome for us or it can be horrible for us. And so my belief is that what we lack these days is authenticity. What we lack is honesty. What we lack is the ability to not worry about what other people think or say, and to consistently just get to a place where we know what our truth is, and that we can have that opinion, and we can stand proudly on what we believe to be true and not be afraid of other people's judgments. I think the biggest challenge is that most people are afraid of looking bad in front of other people. And I say, quit worrying about looking good. Just look good for yourself. Look good for your higher power, whatever that is, and don't worry about what other people think.
The question is, why can't people change course when they want to? When they have the information, when they know where they want to change to, they can't get there. Why is that? Bob Proctor, the icon of icons in the industry, has those answers, and he connected all the dots for me when I asked him the exact question.
We are programmed right from the moment of conception. That's called genetic conditioning. That's why your body is the form that it is. That's why you look like your relatives. That's why we have habit patterns that go back for generations. We're the confluence of a genetic pool of ignorance that goes back for many generations. Why do we like the food we like? Why do we wear the clothes we wear? Why do we have the little idiosyncrasies that mom and grandmama had? Do you see, we arrive with that. The little particle of energy from mom and the little particle of energy from dad that comes together, that forms the nucleus of us. Well, all of their DNA is in there. We're the composite of all their habits. And that's when we're born. And then for the first 3 or 4 years or 5 years, our subconscious mind is wide open and we are programmed according to our environment. That's why we speak the language we speak. If we took a baby out of an English-speaking home, let's say in the Bronx, and put them in the suburb of Beijing, the baby, who might be white, Anglo-Saxon, would grow up fluent in Chinese, no knowledge of the English language. We're the product of our environment. In fact, Dr. Menninger from the Menninger Foundation said environment is more important than heredity. Now you put heredity and environment together and you got a very powerful program. And that is why 90-some% of the population never make it. In the richest countries in the world, they've got potential to burn. But we are programmed from birth all the way through school to go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. We are not introduced to the real genius within us. We have intellectual faculties. They're the only thing that separate us from all of the rest of the animal kingdom. See, all the little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. We are the only creature that is totally disoriented in our environment. And that's because we have the ability to create our own environment. We have perception, the will, imagination, intuition, memory, reason. These are phenomenal mental faculties, and we're not taught we've got these. We're never shown how to develop them. Now, some people do. They just sort of stumble in it. I did. But I was an unconscious competent. It took me 9 years to figure out why I was winning. I was raised to believe if you're not really smart, you can't earn a lot of money. I was earning a lot of money, and I knew I wasn't very smart. I was taught to believe if you don't go to school and get a good education, you'll never do well in business. Well, I believed that until I was 26. But then I started a company, and it was operating Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England, and I only had 2 months high school. You see, I became aware that most of what we're taught is false. Why do we have great big companies and little wee creative departments? I'll tell you exactly why. When we start to kindergarten in grade 1, if we exercise our imagination, boom, we get slapped down. We call it not paying attention, daydreaming. What we're doing is developing the most phenomenal mental faculty God ever gave any form of creation, and we never develop it. Napoleon Hill said the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force that the world's ever known. That's where this book came from. That's where this movie's come from. It's come from the effective use of our higher faculties. And if we were to teach children from a very early age that they've got these marvelous mental faculties and then start to utilize them, our whole world would change.
I'll tell you, it's funny. Most people don't realize they have it all within them. They all think, well, that person, how did they do it? The key is we all judge too much. We judge others, we judge ourselves, and we close down our creativity. Every major songwriter and everyone that I've been involved in that has been able to write a hit song, they just open up to something beyond them. And it's awesome. It happens most of the time in the middle of the night. They're like just a vessel. They get up and just put it down. They go back to bed and they wake up to this hit song. That's really tapping in. But how do you get the freedom? How do you get the freedom to get through those blocks of judgment? Think of it. When you were a child, you drew freely, and it was fun to color, right? Then you go to school and be, oh, that's ugly, that's no good, and so you start closing down. You sing freely as a child. See, watch them. Then they go to school and say, ooh, you sound yucky. You start closing it in. All you need to do is understand. Stop judging yourself harshly. Allow yourself to be free. You can tap into so many gifts, and there are so many gifts there for you. That's all these songwriters are doing, is they've gone to a place where they've allowed themselves to go deeper than themselves, and something greater than them comes through them. But they got to do all the prep first. You know, the prep is doing all the work so that that magic comes through. The prep is learning how to write, you know, doing your craft each and every day. That's when these gifts really come fully, because when they come, and you better be ready to be receive them fully. That's all it is. And it's in every one of us. That's the amazing thing. We just judge ourselves as, oh, I can't do that, so we just stop. We stop it all. So learn how to go through that, step past that. And when you tap into the source, there are so many, they're just buzzing around. It's all there. It's all for you. Why not you grab it instead of someone else? You know, I have hit songwriters who go, oh gosh, I should have written that song, but I didn't do it. But he got it, so all right, I'll get the next one.
Maine Beach and Laguna Beach. Muriel Hemingway, Bobby Williams. What do they have in common? Absolutely nothing, except they're both fabulous people. Just like this beach, fabulous beach. It's just a bitchin' place to be, and they're just great people. Authentic is the key word here.
Being truly authentic is everything you do. It's all of your life. It's in all the choices that you make. What food you eat, what thoughts you think, whether you take a walk barefoot in nature, whether you take in the rays of a sunrise or a sunset. It's how you make tea in the morning. It's how you speak to your daughter or your son. It's how you, whether or not you call a friend. It's how you interact with your coworkers. It's every little thing that you do. It's the deep breaths that you take. It's everything. Lifestyle is everything. So sharing healthy lifestyle with people, not as, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to be more connected to something. Nothing is separate. So lifestyle is about how am I being in every aspect of my life? So my passion, our passion together is to share with people how they can find their own unique way of stepping into the world and making a difference for themselves. Because once you make a difference for yourself, you make a difference in the world. Once you show up as yourself, all of a sudden the rest of your environment, your children, your neighbors, your coworkers, all that stuff start to change because you become an example of a higher consciousness. You become an example of living more in your highest. You become more you, and becoming more you changes the world. I really believe that. So it's not about like, oh, I'm doing Be You now and I want everybody to follow me and I'm the coolest person on the planet. It's like, no, you're the coolest person on the planet. I want to share that everybody out there is the coolest person on the planet. And they need to find that so that they can be extraordinary. And I think, when people become authentic, that creates peace in the world. When they're coming from them, they're not being told what to do, they're not being guided, they're not being led around by the nose, this, that, and the other thing. When they're truly being themselves, that's a loving place to come from. Because I believe that people are good.
Well, I guess a big one for me is my physical activity. I absolutely love being outdoors, and one of the biggest things that I love to do is climb. And I would say Yosemite Valley is one of my favorite places to climb, and there's nothing like being off the deck and completely by yourself, and in this space of, there is no moving forward or moving backwards. You're just in this one place where, where's my next move? And you make that next move, and it all seems to be one continual now, so to speak. You're right in that moment. Especially when you're soloing, which is only particular times. It's not a common practice for me, but on the times that I do, I couldn't be more present. 1,000 feet off the deck and just you and a pair of rock shoes and walking up the wall. You can't be anyplace else when you're doing these things. You're on the back of a bull. You're not thinking about what's my phone bill? How am I going to pay my bills, my mortgage? You're like thinking about, how can I stay alive for these 8 seconds, And the 8 seconds seems to be about 8 hours, It's 8 seconds, but it seems forever, and it's like everything slows down, Time just completely slows down, and again, that moment. And I believe that the reason why I do these things, the rock climbing, the skydiving, base jumping, the riding the bulls, the stunt work, I keep going back to this place that I feel is the source for myself. And we all have sources for ourselves. And I believe it's connecting with self, right? And so I get this connection with self when I get in these extreme situations. And I know everybody's experienced this, where time completely slows down, It's no longer relevant. Whether it's a car accident or something extreme of that nature, or something that we absolutely love, And so doing what you love and loving what you do simultaneously, and for me, it's pushing myself physically, and I absolutely love it, this space. So I keep going back there, and I feel like that I actually get spiritually connected. It's just moments in time that we experience, like a little bit of everything, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, is all happening simultaneously, like in these moments. Yeah, it's like a mirror of your inner self. In a sense, right? And you get to see this, and there's glimpses of it. And the more I do my physical stuff, the more I get to go to this place. So I love it.
Art. The importance of art in one's life. It's important. When I went to Art Center some many years ago, I just loved the atmosphere, the people, the sense that it wasn't all about money, it was about something else. The smell of gouache, paint, chemicals in the dark room, cool. Well, I tell you, when I met Rasooli in his studio, it brought me back to that very moment, the importance of art.
You see, people think of creativity as something that we have. That's not the case to me. We're not creative. None of us are creative. Even Picasso wasn't creative. The only thing is that we are like the carrier of the creative power See, the creative of the universe, that's the creation itself. So you've got to be in that flow. You're not creative. You've got to be in the flow of creativity. The way to be in the flow of creativity is to become the carrier of the message, like a mailman carrying the mail. You have no awareness of what is in the letter. All you have to do is carry it from here to there. And that's a big phase of developing this whole carriership idea, which is the basis for creativity. The second part of it is that when the thing is delivered, it's not the carrier's business to try to figure out what it is. Most of us begin to judge it then. We create something and we stand back and we want to judge that. And that by itself puts us into this zone that they call it the writer's block, because our judgment of what has been created by itself becomes a problem. So the second thing is to get rid of that whole judgment part. And then the most important thing is, what is that you carry? What is that you carry? Do you just carry any kind of a mail or to take it from one place to another? Or you become selective of that? In which case, you have to develop this whole concept of seeing into the future, which is what makes the visionary.
Memory. Now there's something to think about. The older I get, the less I have of it. I don't know where it's going, but boy, I tell you, it's an issue. I met a fellow along the road while shooting Tapetosaurus that has that issue. In fact, he's got no memory. He's got 2 days of running memory. He won't remember me ever being there or what he said to me. Fascinating story. Fascinating. Watch Bill Charles. Woo!
I create these lovely angels in front of me. I was in a coma about 4 years ago. I used to run customer service centers for people like Digital Insight and AT&T, MySpace, and I had built up a very good career. You know, I was up in the executive level management, and I had a cold in September, and it just wouldn't go away. And my wife was, you know, Bill, you need to go see the doctor. And like every other guy, there's just no reason to go to a doctor. I'm okay. And finally, a lung collapsed, and I ended up in the hospital. Over the next couple days, both lungs collapsed. I got sepsis of the blood, ARDS, where your lungs harden, they crystallize, and they don't move anymore, and double pneumonia. And they had called my wife about 2-3 weeks into the coma and said, we need you to sign the treatment papers because he's gone, and we need to stop treatment. And she said, you know, you're good men, but you're men, and God will have the final word. You treat him till he gets up. And a few days later, I came out of that coma with no memory. I have no life memories. I don't remember being a child. I don't remember what I used to do, even my work, other than what people tell me I did. So, through the course of that, of not being able to go back to my normal life, it's funny, I used to get in the car to go to work, and I'd call my wife and like, where am I going? And she's like, well, you're going to Digital Insight. I'm like, what is that? She's like, that's where you work. And I'm like, well, what do I do? And she's like, park the car and I'll come and get you. And about a year of that not being able to function, I saw an angel, and I believed that I could create angels. My wife, a very kind woman, by the way, said, you know, Bill, you forgot a lot about your life. You have no talent. You've never drawn, you can't write. I'm like, I know, but I think I can do this. And that's how it started. I've been creating angels now for just under 3 years. And in that time, I have angels in the Vatican. The president has an angel, and on, just a very large list of people who own my angels. Like, I don't remember my life before, but as I hear stories about my life, it was not very graceful. It was not very kind. And all that's been stripped away, and now I wake up every day like a child. I only have 2 days of real memory. So I'm not mad at anyone. I have no expectation of the day. I wake up happy. I wake up childlike. You know, I'm blessed every day I wake up, because I do wake up happy every day. And what a blessing that is, to be able to see your angel, to be able to create angels that touch other people's lives. I hear incredible stories of people who own these angels that tell me everything from healing broken marriages to health to starting families, just an incredible amount of stories associated with these angels. And to think that I'm a part of that, you know, it's a miracle for me. So the coma was absolutely the best thing that ever happened in my life. You know, and I remind myself how important it is to spend time with your family and to spend time with your friends, you know, and to laugh and to share and to not be mired down in the day-to-day paying the bills and making the car run and you know, all the things that just take the joy from your life. Those things are important and you have to do them, but during the course of doing those things, it's important to remember the contribution you make to the people around you and the contribution they make to your life. And that is what keeps me connected.
The law of attraction. Wow, there's a process. Manifestation. Bringing things from the infinite, the unseen, into the seen and the finite. Great stuff, if you can do it. I've never been good at it at all. I come with a ball here. But the guy who knows a lot about that is a guy who's been on The Secret, who knows exactly how it works, supposedly, in the brain. Listen to him, it's cool. John Assaraf, the king of manifestation.
When we're talking about mind and manifestation, and we're talking about you know, science or theology, there's usually two sources of reference we can go to. Obviously theology, and we will go to the religions, to the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and the Torah and the Bible. And my question is, where did all of that information come from? Did somebody make it up? Did somebody channel it through thought, through entering different brainwave frequencies? And can science prove that? And we know through some of the research today that there's the unseen world and there's the seen world. And in my opinion and in my research, everything that emanates in our physical world emanates from the unseen world. So if we look at the, you know, the human body and we look at the 10 systems or the 9 systems in the US version, you know, we have the endocrine system, the lymphatic system, the digestive system. We've got systems that are all made up of our tissues and organs and cells and molecules and atoms. And the question is, where did all that come from? If we go back in time, we end up at a point of singularity somehow that's all connected to everything else. So is it possible that through billions of years of evolution, our brain is picking up on different frequencies, and when we resonate with certain frequencies, we attract or resonate or make known other frequencies that are on the same level, the same vibration? And so I think we're just starting to understand through the study of quantum physics how the very small particles in our universe or energy works better than we've ever understood it before, and it's not much, as it's only been 100 years or so. And so in my world of manifestation, everything that emanates, the ideas, the thoughts that we have in our brain, we can either think of it as it's happening within the confines of my head, or my brain is an electromagnetic receiving and sending station that picks up and or emits certain frequencies based on our thoughts. And so when we talk about manifestation, we talk about Charles Haanel, when we think about Leonardo da Vinci writing or drawing helicopters and submarines and parachutes, when we didn't even have the metals to create them, where was he coming up with those images? Were they in his head, or was he tapping into a field of intelligence that was coming to and through him as a vehicle? And I believe the former or the latter is true. And so what we're learning, and what my research is showing, is that
Just like we've advanced in our cell phone understanding, we don't have the big 3-pound cell phones anymore. We have the little cell phones, and we pick it up and dial somebody's phone number, put the call to our ears or the phone to our ears, and all of a sudden, that energy is beamed through space into a satellite and then beams back down to somebody you're calling in Australia. If you would have said that to somebody just a few hundred years ago, they would have burnt you at the stake. Right? You would have been called a warlock or a witch, and you'd be history, game over. And so what's happening, in my opinion, is that science and spirituality are converging. So we're starting to understand more about how powerful our thoughts are, specifically our focused thoughts, our emotion associated with those thoughts, and the effect it's having on the unseen world. No differently than the phone call is being carried through space and time. Is it possible that our thoughts and our emotions are being carried through space and time?
Meditation. You would think I'd be a pro at meditation, and I don't do meditation. I should. I've been around these people all my life, and there's some great benefits to it, to say the least. That's why the world's been doing it forever. I just don't stop and take time to listen to the silence, and I should. After listening to these folks, when I shot them, I kind of changed my whole perspective on what I need to do to change that in my life. Enjoy.
Scientists like Einstein, physicists, mystics, they've all been searching for what's the source of creation. Whether they come up with the unified field or they come up with this system of belief in God, what they're really trying to experience is the source. And so mystics like Rumi, Sufis and contemplative Christians and saints, they write about what's so hard to describe. They write about their communion with this source. And we all have different names for it depending on the religion, but the communion itself is ecstatic. It is, they describe it as something that you can't think your way to. It requires faith. It requires a practice of welcoming the source, of doing the practice, and then it's a spontaneous experience that we cannot make last longer than it does. We cannot make it happen, and we cannot make it end. The ecstasy of this communion with the source, whatever you want to call it, is a phenomenon that mystics throughout the ages have been seeking and experiencing.
I was reading this book, and this mantra just started happening internally inside of me, and it's like I didn't know what it was, but I just sat there and sort of went with the flow, and over a 2.5 hour period of time, this energy slowly arose, raised itself up through my body with each and every breath. As I breathed in, it went up. As I exhaled, it went back down. Then as it hit my chest, I described, the New York Times was here doing a story on this house, and I described it as if somebody shot my heart directly with heroin. It was like the feeling was so overwhelming, but I lost complete sense of my body altogether, and then it rose up to the top of my head, and it just shot. At one point, it shot from the base of my spine into the top of my head, and I describe it as if the roof of the house was blown off and 1 million volts of electricity just like hit my skull and exploded my body into unbelievable bliss that just completely devoured me. It scared the crap. I mean, I stayed in that state for probably maybe 5 to 10 seconds, but it was so overwhelming that I just threw myself off the couch because I said, "That's it, man, I'm dead. It's the end of my life, and this is it." But it's sort of like when something happens like that to you. When it happened to me, it was sort of like, man, that's the only place that I wanna go back there. So my life has been a journey of trying to get back to that spot. Prior to that final culmination, there was a point at which there was no differentiation between myself and everything in the room. It was sort of like, and I describe it like walking into a room where there's 1 million mirrors like you do at an amusement park, and you see all those reflections of you. And you know, oh, that's me, that's me. This is in a sense where I'm sitting in there and everything in the room, not only do you see it as you, but even the thought drops away that you're everything. It's like there's a total dissolution of the sense of the I in that moment. So I would just really encourage people to take some sort of steps to go internal, if you want to call it meditating, whatever you want to do. It's just to find that part of yourself that source, that unlimited source is not only I experience inside, but it's sort of expanded out outside of me everywhere, and it's just sort of like find it, touch it any way you can.
I see that the whole world is waking up to this. More and more you can see all over the world that people are starting to realize that money-based decisions, money-based life has not brought happiness, and the only thing that's going to really bring a great sense of happiness is for people to find a way. And for me, I found transcendental meditation, but to find a way to tap into that source that is already there and bring that pure consciousness out into one's life and integrate it so that one can enjoy 200% of life, 100% of the relative and 100% of the absolute. I have always been a true believer in 200% of life, and what that means is to meditate. And life is here to enjoy, so to meditate, bring that consciousness out, and then full tilt boogie out here in the relative world. Just take on life. And that's why I wrote a book called The Passion Test, to align people with those things that they're most passionate about, so that they can go out and really give their gifts to the world. Life is here to enjoy, so that doesn't mean life is here to keep your eyes closed, meditate 24/7. No, it means that life is here to enjoy, but to enjoy all aspects of life. And in order to enjoy all aspects of life, one must first have joy from within. Because if you've noticed, the more joy you have from within, the more you can enjoy that movie, the more you can put on those clothes and enjoy those clothes, the more you can enjoy going out and being with your friends, the more you can enjoy helping others and giving to others. But it first has to start by knowing who you are, by asking yourself that age-old question that Nisargadatta once asked, who am I? And once you know that question, and once you start to tap into that, then what you'll find is that all the rest of life is just there for you to just love, enjoy, and share that joy with others.
See, I think 2012 is the end of the world as we know it now. Now, that does not mean that the world's going to fall apart, everybody's going to burn or die. I believe that there's going to be a tremendous spiritual shift. I think everything that happened is for good. Whether it appears that way or not really does not matter. You see, I think we're here to do God's work. And somebody will say, well, what's God's work? Well, if God's the creator, then God's work is creation. And that's why we were given creative faculties. And so we're here to create. We're not here to try and get by. We're not here just to try and make it. We're here to do something greater than we've ever done before every day. We want to stretch. We want to develop our creative faculties and really get out and make something happen. And I believe everything that has happened to us, everything that happened, everything, even bumping into somebody on a crowded elevator, I think everything that happens for a reason. It prepares us to be who we are, to develop us and get us ready for what we're going to do. And we never know what we're going to do. So we may have ideas of where we're going, but I always think it's going to be a lot better than anything we can even imagine. And I believe 2012, there's going to be a shift. But I think it's going to be a shift towards something better, something bigger, something much more beautiful. And in my short lifetime, I have seen the consciousness of the public shift dramatically. When I went into places 40 years ago in this business and try and sell the company on the idea of developing the spiritual essence in the people, they said, get out of here. Now they're calling me in. I am so busy, I don't know which to do next. Where I couldn't get in, now they're calling me in. See, that's a shift. People are becoming aware that they're a lot more than what appears on the surface. I'm not Bob Proctor, that's my name. I'm not this physical body, that's what I live in. We don't have a soul, we are a soul. We are a spiritual expression. We're the offspring of an infinite power. And I believe everything we're doing is for good. And I think we're moving in that direction. Whether we see it or not really doesn't make any difference. So I think all we have to do is don't be worried about what somebody else is doing. Let's focus on what we're doing. Let's love a little more and hate a little less. Let's give everything we've got with what we're doing today, now. Forget about tomorrow. Tomorrow will look after it when you get here. If we focus on being right on the top of our game now, we're not going to have any problems.
See that civilization has collapsed, which I don't see, but that certainly is being predicted. Or I see an amazing scene of a co-creative humanity. I see that the structures of the hierarchy and the pyramid will have changed to synergistic, co-creative structures, starting with small groups, the rebuilding of community, the building of a synergistic democracy. Our democracy is totally stuck in oppositional form. It can't move. I see that we will use the internet to map, track, and connect what's working. I will see that the inner drive of evolution will be awakening massive creativity of humanity. And if that creativity can connect for people realizing their life purpose, and if women are liberated to be the authentic feminine co-creator, and if science and technology is guided to restore the earth and free us from the deficiency needs, which it could if we shift the military-industrial complex. And I think the alternative to war is conscious evolution. Only conscious evolution is big enough, not peace. Peace is a byproduct. Conscious evolution is taking the genius of everyone and connecting it to fulfilling a larger purpose within synergy, and I think we'll be born into the universe. And we will be a solar system species. We'll probably, by 25 years, we will understood zero-point energy. We'll have a totally different economic system. And I believe that we will be liberated to have life extension. And we'll have chosen birth, chosen reproduction, chosen lifespan, chosen death. And I believe that we probably will find we are not alone in the universe. And that as we become resonant and coherent on this planet, in our own higher intelligence, we will make contact that will be shared. Not just a UFO sighting here or there, but a shared contact with universal beings.
You know, you look down on the earth and if you look from a high perspective, and you can always find 100 things that are going wrong. You know, wars are being fought and economies are being challenged and crooks are stealing things and the oil companies are voraciously destroying the rainforests and other parts of Africa and so forth. All that's going on. But you also look down and you see that, you know, there's less racism than there used to be in America. We have a black president. You see less sexism. When I was born, you know, a lot of things that we take for granted now weren't happening. There's much more cross-cultural understanding, even with the increasing Islamophobia that seems to be happening in America. We also see greater tolerance happening for Islam, which is a religion that nobody even talked about 40 years ago. So I think that what's happening is there's more leaders. Television has more conscious programming, whether it's Oprah or cable TV or whatever. There are more conscious movies being made. There are more books being published. The bestseller list is just full of information about consciousness and psychology and family relationships and all of that. And generally, I think things are getting better. And the other thing you have to realize, someone just shared this really cool idea with me, and I think it's true. It said whenever we have a crisis, it's like a contraction in a birth process. So if the earth is giving birth to a new level of consciousness, all of these crises that are bringing all of our attention, whether it's the Gulf oil spill or wars that we're fighting or the economy starting to be questioned by everybody, like, will this kind of capitalism that we've had up till now work to have everyone have a decent life? Because it's requiring fewer and fewer people to produce the things that more and more of us need. And does that just mean that certain people are going to get thrown out along the way? Or do we have to find a new way of organizing and distributing wealth and resources like water and food, which seem to be a right that everyone should have on the planet? That these are like contractions so that this new birth can come forward. So I kind of hold things in a perspective of even the things that many people would say, well, this proves the world's going to hell. Maybe this just proves that old institutions are starting to fractionate and disassemble so that new institutions and new ways of being can come forward. The conversations are asking for that to happen. When I look at all the people I know as leaders and the impact they're having. And I mean, look at this. Ecuador now has a new constitution that gives all life forms legal rights, meaning you can go into court and defend a river. You can go into the court and you can defend a species of plant or animal. That's a radical, radical move. And now there's about 10 other countries that are exploring what Ecuador did and saying that we want to do that with our constitutions as well. So we're starting to rethink the very fabric of the basis of how we've chosen to live together, to rewrite constitutions. In Ecuador, they took, I think, 200 people, something like that, from representing all different aspects of society. You know, oil people, rich people, poor people, native indigenous people, European, you know, descendants from the conquistador days, people representing the farmers and the exporters and everything. And they brought them up and said, okay, we're going to create a new constitution. You're going to live in this building for a year or two and you're going to work it out. And then we're going to take it and we're going to put it in front of the people and let them vote. I mean, that's a radical concept to say we're going to question everything about how we've chosen to organize the way we live. And so that to me is exciting. So I think that there are many things that still have to kind of fall apart and many things that still need to be addressed. But I'm still optimistic and hopeful.
So people ask me, is wanting to be happy selfish? And I say that wanting to be happy is the least selfish thing you could possibly do. When we are happy, we are influencing our families, our coworkers, our friends, our community, and ultimately the world. There's a beautiful Chinese proverb that goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. When you are happy, when I am happy, when we have light in our souls, we are doing the most we can do to help create peace on this planet of ours.
We've all known ourselves to be tempted by irrepressible thoughts and greed, leading down what seemed a simple maze. But we've all seen ourselves so clear.